All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again. We have, like I say every time, a very special episode. But in this case, this is a slightly different episode than we would normally do. We have brought on Reggie Brock, who is not necessarily a roofing professional or a partnered company that we've teamed up with. We brought Reggie on because Reggie operates an organization called That One Company that works in leadership and team development. Us at ROOFLE, we have been customers or users, disciples, one might say, of this T1C program. And we wanted to share our experience and bring Reggie on to kind of share a little bit about T1C, a little bit about how he developed this program and kind of what we are getting out of it as individuals and as a team. So without further ado, Reggie, do you mind kind of giving us some background on yourself and on That One Company?
So I'm really a professional roofer by background. Not really.
I was going to say you totally messed up that introduction because you said he's not really a roofing professional. I was like, I thought the second half of that, or really a professional at all.
Yeah, I was going to say the professional part I'm kind of with you on. But first of all, let me just say this. I represent.
Nice. Do appreciate that.
So ROOFLE is a big, very important client of ours, customer and friends. And so kind of when we started this, I reached out to Mike and I'm like, this is kind of what we're doing. And y'all took a flyer on us. And it's been very, very meaningful. Just real quickly, I spent 32 years in the insurance business now. Did a lot of different things from a carrier perspective, from product design all the way down to I set up networks for big insurance companies across the country, contractors. And then in 2010, I got into the roofing industry and literally just selling. I just was in Texas and I needed to cash fast. And back then, it was a lot easier to me to roof or especially to sell. I've never put one nail in a roof. So calling me a roofer is like probably pretty accurate. But I could sell them. And so I took my insurance background and then kind of some of my sales abilities. And it was just a real good get me back on my feet experience. And so because we were in bad shape financially, my family and I. And so did that for 7 years, just selling and managed a couple of teams. And then I kind of had some insight because of my background and deductibles and working with customers in terms of, positioning the claim more accurately. This was before PAs really got involved and there just wasn't as much contention. I mean, literally adjusters would come out, get on the roof, yes or no, get in their trucks, cut a check, give you the scope and you go to work. And like, there wasn't mortgage endorsements. It was easy. Like now it's brain science. I mean, brain science, brain surgery. There you go. And I fell off a couple of roofs, as you can tell, landed on my head. So, and then I ended up worked for a couple different companies doing some funding things, and finally ended up at a big manufacturer or distribution company, and that's actually where Mike and I met. And so I was there at Beacon for four years, and just decided one day, look, man, I enjoy just dealing with people individually without trying to sell them something, and and I enjoy kind of pouring into people's life for their advancement. So I just decided to step out and kind of do it myself. And quickly I'd known Matt Barron's my partner for 6 or 7 years. And we had some kindredness in terms of what we wanted to do in helping people. And so T1C, That One Company, was born. And just from a recap standpoint, fundamentally, That One Company started from the premise of we just live in a world where people are highly disconnected. Like they're just everybody, even inside of companies, they just pick their silos, go to work in those silos. There's just not a whole lot of cross-pollination, if you will, not a lot of collaboration. People don't trust each other. There's lack of vulnerability. And as a result, depth of relationship is just hard to find. And what I believe is that we are better together. And when we come together, we don't have to lose our identities or our giftings or our strengths. There's no sacrifice. It's an addition to. And how we pour together into one another creates something we can't do apart. And so if we really want to go further in our progress toward whatever success looks like to us, we recommend doing it together, because as we come together and we start pouring into one another and sharing with one another and opening up to one another, good, bad, and indifferent, we have this way of creating chemistry organically that helps as we put what we all are together to find further and greater advancement. And that's what we do. So connection is a big deal. Giving people the opportunity to be seen and heard in terms of their contribution matters. Look, you can have talented people inside of a business, but if they don't feel like you're paying attention to them, or you're noticing them, or or you're really acknowledging their contribution to the growth or the success of the company, here's what I promise you: they're looking and you don't even know it for another job. And so our hope at T1C is that we can help people start trusting one another again, connecting at a deeper level, get a little bit more vulnerable with each other, and start creating things together that they can't do by themselves. And that's what really all of this is about to us. Not to eliminate individuals, but create new we groups out of really talented individuals.
I love it. What a nice introduction.
Yeah, and thank you for that introduction. So, and I'd love to weigh in here and kind of give you, because the rest of you, Courtney, Justice, and Brian, probably don't know a lot of the history that Reggie and I share. So I want to give a little bit of a context to that, and just for anybody who's watching along, and you typically watch podcasts and webinars at like 1.25 and 1.5 speed, so it goes like normal thinking speed. Except for Reggie, he actually slows his down, but his speech is so slow. If you're at 1.5, I probably sound like Alvin the Chipmunk right now. So if you just kind of put it at 1.25, or you're going to kind of put it in the middle. I say that to say that we joke with each other all the time. We probably put each other down more than most, but there's not very many people on the planet that I love more than Reggie. And the amount that he has poured into my life has made a significant change, not just in professionally, but personally as well. And I want to ask you the first question as we go forward, because one of the things that drew me to you, at least got me to understand you and kind of your DNA, is a podcast that you were hosting. That's I don't think you're doing it anymore, or you haven't recently. You just out of ideas,
Basically
all the brain science that you used to have is now gone, and now there's just nothing left to say.
I'm not even sure what I'm doing right now, so just.
But so Reggie had a podcast, and it's called Live Exposed, which isn't nearly as creepy as it sounds, but that is, as I see, that is your DNA, Reggie. Yeah. Live Exposed, and talk a little bit about the thought behind that title and that podcast, and then how that has and you'll see the DNA going through to that one company and what you've created there, because the same principles are in both. So talk a little bit about Live Exposed.
So I had a propensity, and still have to fight it today, that if I get uncomfortable with people having certain information about me, I just shell up. I hide it, and I just don't want it to be looked at. Because I think, if people really knew the true me, they wouldn't want to be friends with me, and they wouldn't be willing to really interact with me at any meaningful level. And, that started with me at a really young age. So I just had this a great ability to hide things. And I started hiding things that were not just detrimental to me, but would affect, once exposed, would affect the entire ecosystem I lived in, and especially with my wife and son. And so I had crafted that art pretty spectacularly, if you want to know the truth. And so eventually what happened is those things that I was hiding eventually popped up. They just tend to do that. They when you least expect it, the stuff you're hiding tends to become visible. And so I knew that there were a lot of people like me that just, rather than, for whatever reason, they're embarrassed, they're afraid they'll lose status, they've been caught in a lie, or whatever it is, people just hide stuff. And what I found is this: when I got free from that, life got better for me. Even though I had to man up in some areas and really get my tail kicked, my teeth kicked in at the same time because of poor decisions I made, I didn't have to continue to live with that hiding, and the calorie burn that you get when you're trying to hide something is unbelievable. And so I just got exhausted. I got caught in some things, and I decided the best way for me to live was transparently. And even if it was painful and even if it hurt. So the whole podcast was about encouraging people to find safe space that they can have these conversations with people that they trust to help get them out of the hole they have dug, the hiding that's deep inside of them, and release it. And sometimes, most of the times, you can't do that by yourself. You need people around you to help them to hold you accountable, and give you courage at times to deal with stuff you're normally used to hiding. And that, as you said, is kind of given a lot of the DNA to T1C as well.
Yep. Even as a company, as we like to protect our culture, the culture that we've built within our company, and we want to start getting into that aspect that we want to protect that above all others. And what ends up happening is that's where the infection starts, because you're burying stuff that needs to be brought out, and the longer it's hidden and not exposed to the air, and it starts festering. It becomes that infection, and the more you bury it, the harder it becomes, and until suddenly you've got an infection that's now, like you were saying before, is causing good people who are that culture to now want to leave because they can't handle what corruption they're experiencing in their lives, both personally and professionally. And we can talk about the correlation there. We talk about that actually quite a bit on those calls, but like it's your personal stuff, it's your professional life that is affecting your performance at work and at home. And the longer you hide it, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
Until you're at full blown infection.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think we're living in a world where we just run from each other. And as a result, we keep our own feelings to ourselves, our own thoughts to ourselves, and we never share. And the important thing about me, to me at T1C, I think y'all have experienced this, is you have space in our meetings to really discuss things. Now, look, I'm not saying people go as deep as they possibly can, but we're able to have conversations about things that are holding back our progress, those hidden things, maybe the things you're uncomfortable with. And maybe, I think some of y'all have experienced that as well on our calls. It's like, are there things that were deep inside of you, or challenges that you were facing that may have been shallow? They may not have been deep. They may have been shallow, that you were just like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to talk about that. I don't know what the ramifications are for that. So I'll just keep holding on with it. And I think some of the four of you have had experiences to where you were able to like get by that, and our calls, I think, help motivate that. Anybody in particular is there something you'd be comfortable sharing? I'm not talking about especially necessarily a direct situation, but just the experience.
Yeah, what I would say is what T1C and what the collective expansion, which for anyone who is unfamiliar, that's kind of what the practice is called. T1C is the company, that one company. They present the concept of collective expansion, us all learning and growing together through a collective sharing of our knowledge, experience, and struggles and accomplishments. And what I think that it does extremely well is it gives an environment to share at whatever level is comfortable or necessary to break down a barrier or to reach past something, because it is a vacuum in the sense that it's not something that you have to confront with your close friends or your family. It is a group of like-minded individuals who are there for the same purpose, but in some cases might, and in some cases might not be any part of your direct life.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you this opportunity to trust that the other people in the space with you are open to hear without judgment, and provide feedback from a drastically different worldview than your own. And that ability to share about something that you might just not have another environment for that, be able to open that up, break it down, and let somebody else who maybe doesn't know you, maybe does know you, give some feedback based on their life experience that is by nature going to be completely opposite of your own. And I think that's what helps so much, is gaining that alternative perspective on your own life and on your own experiences that helps you view things through a different lens, and helps you break past those. And sometimes you just need to shout into a vacuum, realistically.
So before I ask anybody else, Courtney, Brian.
What he said.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, for me, go ahead, Courtney.
No, you go ahead.
Ladies first. Go ahead, Court.
I was just going to say that it is also a place to give me realization. You know, I think a lot of times that when we have problems, whether it be in our personal or professional lives, especially when we're remote, it's really my problem to deal with. But this gives me the transparency and vulnerability to like be honest and open and potentially meet somebody who has already gone through the same situation. And now I have somebody who I now can build a relationship, but also get feedback, talk to them, mentor. I mean, it's one of those things that I've like actually developed friends through this based on the experiences that they're being transparent about.
Yeah, that's good. Brian.
Yeah, I was honored to be asked to be part of this program, and going into it, I had no idea what this was about or what it was going to consist of. And I love it. I mean, Reggie and his team are all awesome, and it's a bunch of like-minded individuals who, I mean, we get deep. We get really deep. I think I'm personally more of kind of a surface thinker.
Yeah.
These conversations really get me thinking on different levels about stuff, which in turn has really helped me really identify these thoughts and feelings and actions to really help me be a better father, a better husband, and a better employee. It's been awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think people need to know, and I'd be curious what y'all's opinion is on this. These are not guru-led. These are not expert-led. These are not, bring in the voice of the hour for a specific topic. So it's unlike most, because usually if we're going to a meeting, there's some superstar that is there that's got all of this great information and insight. That is not what we do. Contrary to what people think about me, I talk less on that than I do anywhere on our Friday collective expansion calls, because it's not about one voice. It's about all of our voices. How has that been impactful? How has that been different and meaningful?
No gurus, really?
Oh yeah, sorry, but that GuruCon's coming up, so
we're changing all that. We're making it right in the world again for gurus to proudly step forward. And sorry. I want to hear you guys answer that question.
I'll answer. It's honestly, I'm very similar to Brian. Like, I had no idea. I've been a part of a couple different leadership programs and things like that through bigger companies. So my background tends to be a lot of big corporations. This is my first startup. This is my first small company that has less than, I would say, 5,000 employees.
Yeah.
So what the collection expansion on Fridays, or just when we are able to collaborate, are my favorite part of my week. Now they are my favorite part of every 2 weeks. But it tends to be something that I'm excited to either add value to someone else's life, whether it be taking my experiences and just talking through things, or vice versa. It's kind of like a give and take, but I swear you guys read our minds, because every session I keep coming into it going like, there's no way they're going to top the last one. And you guys do.
I hate to break it to you, Courtney. They do read your minds.
Yeah.
Reggie's not
I have to tinfoil hat going forward now.
Yeah, he's not even.
So to explain that a little bit, the second tool that we use at that one company is Collective Pulse, which is our daily kind of, I call it journaling exercise that all of us go through that really kind of focus on what we're thinking and what we're feeling in particular. Here's what we believe. You cannot judge completely one's results in life strictly on the actions that they perform. You have to take into consideration how they're thinking and how they're feeling. And because the way people think and feel affects the way they behave. And so, as you guys know, we have a tool that we send out every day that takes maybe 3 to 5 minutes, I would think. That's now just 3 questions and then 2 questions. I don't remember, 3 questions and then 3 letters, just like drop down rating things. When you first go from when you first started doing it to how it affects you now, that just so to tell the rest of the story before you answer that, we use that data to prepare for our calls. Like, so it's been amazing to me to see how much commonality there is in humanity. Like, it's just what people seem to go through almost together. So Courtney, that's kind of, I wish we were really that smart, but the fact of the matter is y'all provide really meaningful data to us that helps us to pose the questions and create the conversations that we do on Friday. So let's talk about Collective Pulse for a second. What have been your thoughts on that, like as we started it, and then how do you feel about it now?
Unfiltered thoughts?
Unfiltered thoughts.
I just texted these guys the other day. I am not a very regimented, scheduled out, regular person.
Yeah.
I am more consistent with my daily pulse than I am pooping.
Fantastic. Great to know. Okay, we just lost Brian. I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, Justice.
With that, Justice has left the stage.
No.
I'm back.
I would say, again, from my experience coming from bigger companies, I've never had a voice. And so I think when we first started it, I was kind of dipping my toes, dipping my fingers in, like holding back a little bit. And then eventually I was like, this is meant for me to be open and honest. And I've been using them in that aspect. Like, you're going to get the ugly, you're going to get everything. And so at that point, I've noticed a change in like what I'm getting out of it just by being open and honest. And it is probably my favorite thing to admit.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Either of y'all?
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, great, another thing added to the list.
Yeah.
And after doing it, it really has been beneficial. I'm not a big journaler. I don't do any journaling, but I think it's really a tool which has really helped me kind of identify kind of a temperature check for me, really helped me understand where I'm at, what I'm feeling, and what I need to do to improve moving forward.
Yeah, and kind of to piggyback on that, like I've found that I'm more grateful for the more of the daily stuff. So the both the wins and then not dwelling on the failures as much either, because it's a nice time at the end of the day to reflect of what's happened and what's going to happen, and kind of just giving an overview of that. But staying consistent on that, I think has developed inside of me a gratefulness for my everyday and my personal and primarily my professional life in this case, most of these.
Yeah. I mean, we do it. I mean, I do one every day, and I was like Brian, I'm like, gee, come on. I mean, like every day. And then what it allowed me to start realizing is keeping in touch, like, of my own temperatures, like what's happening with me. And it started explaining some of the way I was treating people. And it started explaining to me the way I was seeing situations and why. And so when we say collective pulse, it's truly the pulse of the individuals that make up the collective inside of, for example, ROOFLE. And I will make something really clear. None of this is anonymous. Like, everybody's name is on everything that's submitted. And I've had people go like, why would you do that? Because if you don't, You're missing the whole point. And the whole point is that the people, Mike and the other leaders at ROOFLE need to be aware what's happening inside of the organization to help coach and assist. And you need to feel like you're being heard, like Courtney said. We have built so many stinking walls. We have separated ourselves at such a high level. It's hard to even know when you're talking to somebody. What we're telling, and I think what CP does and Collective Pulse and Collective Expansion do, is it builds some windows. Just like, you can still have your leadership access that needs to be, doing all that other stuff. But the reality of it is we can see each other again. We can hear each other again. And nobody's afraid to look at the data. One of the first things I told Mike, and I know he's transposed this information to whoever needs to hear it. You cannot use this data to judge harshly. You can't do it. So if you're seeing, if Brian is turning something in that as out of the trueness of how he's feeling and thinking, you've got to learn as a leader. If you're listening to this and you're in the leadership room, oh, that's kind of cool. Well, the fact is it's cool unless you abuse the data. And you can't use it as anything other than an opportunity to help coach, encourage, and build. And so those are the two primary tools that we use effectively, and they really work together. Has there been and I know this sounds really weird, but I'm big with words, though I can't use them real well. There are words that have come out of some themes and thoughts that have come out of some of these sessions that I think have stuck to some of y'all like they have to me. And I would love if you can recall something like a phrase or a word or something like that you've been able to really translate and transition into the way you face things. I would love that to kind of be the end of what we're talking about today. Anything just pop up into your heads?
Yeah, I got one. For me, it would be collisions.
Yeah.
I had never really heard of this terminology before, but really, I think the key idea here is that in order for progress to happen, that there have to be collisions.
Yeah.
And I love that idea. And it really has, again, both professionally as well as personally, it's really helped me better understand how to make progress.
I agree.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead, Courtney. Or are you going to say something else?
Collisions has been something that has never been something that I've been able to do, if that makes any sense. Anytime in my history, if I caused a collision, I was the one out.
Yep.
And so at that point, the collision piece has been something that has been actually extraordinary because it's you have to have the difficult conversations to move forward and learn. And you've allowed us to kind of understand the need of the collision and feel comfortable doing it in a thoughtful way.
So I want Mike to comment on this because we had a lot of conversations. But listen, I looked this up and I've been pondering this word for really 2 months. And when you look at the word, here's what it really breaks down is at the moment of impact. Think about 2 people or 3 people or a group of people. When that time comes where a collision is coming and you can't avoid it. So at that moment of impact, what happens when the collision occurs is there's a breaking of pre-existing bonds. Listen to this. And it forms new bonds. It reshapes the relationship. And without collision, there's no impact. And without impact, you can't change anything. And folks, that's what's caused us to move apart from each other. We couldn't have a collision if we wanted to because we're acres apart. But the only way you go from here to there in terms of a relationship and being trusting of one another again and vulnerability is not being afraid. And I don't mean denting each other. I don't mean being harsh to one another. I'm talking about you've got to be willing to converge and collide to create something new that the relationship doesn't have yet. Mike, you got something to say on that?
Well, I want to hear Justice first, and then I'm going to sum it up.
Yeah, I would say besides collision, I think one of the biggest concepts that I've continually run into is cohesion between people who are so drastically different. In that we break it, every session we come in, we discuss kind of what we're going to be approaching that day, and then we break off into kind of group sessions, 3, 4, sometimes just 2 people. And then we kind of get into the topic of the day and we start to break it down and we start to work through kind of our own approach to whatever we're discussing that day. And what I've found is that it does not matter who you are put into a room with. There is so much connection between everyone. I mean, you can put me in a room with somebody 65 years old from the opposite side of the country who had a completely opposite upbringing to myself. And we find ourselves by the end of a 10 or 12 minute breakout session that, man, our experiences are so similar in so many deep and fundamental ways, maybe not on the surface, but at a fundamental level, the connection and cohesion between people. And you get 4 people who are completely opposite from each other into a single room, talk about a topic. And by the time you finish that 10, 15 minute conversation, you're realizing what really does connect us all on a fundamental level. And that to me has been extremely profound, to find the ways that I can connect with just about anybody given a couple minutes and a little bit of vulnerability.
That's good. And just so everybody hearing this knows, those are random pulls. We don't sit around and go like, oh, it'd be great for Courtney to be in a room with, but we don't do that. They're just random pulls. And so that's been another thing. It's been amazing to me. People, because they say, how did you know to put me with so-and-so? And I'm like, it's the Zoom draw.
I noticed I've never been in a room with you, Reggie. So that must.
Yeah. And that you can notice that'll never happen.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get things done, Mike. And I think y'all 2 in a room together would be a detriment, as we have seen today.
Yeah.
And I was kind of torn on my 2. I will say, I'm so sorry, Mike.
Go ahead.
Because I went off of Brian's, but it's what I've noticed is that it's like kind of broken down in pieces. Is like, we talk about the head, the hands, and the heart, and breaking down on how our decisions or the things that we're holding, or one of the biggest, I would say my favorite sessions was the saboteurs, like understanding what things am I bringing? Like, it's kind of like baggage in a way. What is that's holding me from? So like understanding, as a people pleaser or as a pleaser in general in customer success, how it can get just into a ball of who knows what. So it's just been one of those amazing pieces to bring back and understand really how I can manage and take some things from each of those pieces.
That's good. Really good. And Courtney, I'm glad you brought that up, because when people are searching for change and different results, they always start at the wrong place. And that is, get your hands more aggressive, get more active, get more. And so we call on these I call them action superstars now, that come into our organizations and just show us how to get busier hands. And the fact of the matter is, if you do more of what you were doing, you're going to get more of what you didn't want. And so how do you create difference of result? It starts with, as you said, head. How are you thinking? Is there alignment? Is there focus? Is there clarity? Then it moves, and this is a natural progression in life, from our head to our heart. How do we feel about it? Can we manage the emotions? Can we be empathetic when it comes to getting things done? Then if we're aligned in head and heart, our hands will produce different results than we have been experiencing. It's got to start with the head, not the hands. That's good, Court. Mikey, finish.
Yeah, and the number of times that we talk about trust, and so what I kind of want to do is take all of these concepts and kind of put it together, and as part of the leadership of ROOFLE and where we have been and where we are going, the one thing that keeps me up at night is like all of these things cumulatively, connection, the collusion with each other, the collisions, being the saboteurs, and the leading and the development of trust within our members. What keeps me up at night is when the honeymoon is over.
Yeah.
Because whether you're a new company or a growing company, and anytime you bring somebody new into the mix, there is this honeymoon period. And how long does it last? And frankly, I don't want it to last very long. I need there to be some collisions. I need there to be, because that's the way that we grow together. as much as we enjoy talking about our culture and the amount of fun that we have, and our front-facing side of the marketing company does such a fantastic job at ROOFLE, the fact of the matter is what's behind all of that stuff. Because if we're all in a honeymoon phase, it's still all fake, and we're not with as much excitement as we have for our sales. Guess what? We still have sales metrics to get. We still have KPIs to live up to. We have minimums we have to make. We have to be able as a team to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish in our professional lives for ROOFLE. And at the same time, we are having to deal and grow with each other. We have to get past that stuff. The problems don't go away. The tickets aren't just going to shut off. The disagreements within our team are not going to end. And the fact is, we need to be able to talk about things and have that conversation, have that collision as if we were already expecting it. We had one 30 minutes ago, right? All right, this is going to be a collision, but you know what? We're not going to avoid it. You know why? Because we're better if we don't avoid it now. That collision might hurt now, and we're gonna heal from it and mend from it. You know why? Because we trust each other. We're predictable now. We're going to be better off afterwards than we are today, as long as we deal with it. And the longer we don't deal with it, we had a whole session on this one, the longer we put off dealing with it. And if we try to avoid that collision, guess what? The impact is way greater later, because what has starting to stack up creates an even more violent impact. And
well,
so,
that ends us where we started. And that is, you can't bury stuff inside of a company one to another and expect one day that it not come up. And it's like a seed. It may not come up tomorrow. I plant it today. It might not come up tomorrow, but sometime that seed is not going to lose its purpose. And its purpose is one day to break the soil and be seen and produce something. And so, I mean, to your point, Mike, it's like every seed sown is one day going to rear its head. Why not deal with it in an environment to where people are willing and open and vulnerable and trustworthy enough to go like, hey, even if we may collide on this, but at the other end, it's going to recreate in us something that makes us more capable going together. And so 100% agree with you. And I think the insights you guys have has been exactly what I hoped for.
And if you listen to everybody who's spoken today, and I do appreciate Courtney and Justice and Brian and the ideas that you have and how much this has become a really big part of your lives. At the end of the day, I don't have to be bashful to say the reason why this makes sense for ROOFLE is because the performance that we're seeing out of Courtney and Justice and Brian far exceeds what they were doing 6 months ago. And the reason is because they are more confident. They're more comfortable in, their responsibilities and their roles. They have a voice. They're using that voice. They're empowered. Yeah. They're all the things we really desire. They desire in having a positive work experience. We desire in having that ability to see them perform. Even above what we hired them to do sometimes.
Mike, you bring a good point. One of the things that makes this work is not Courtney, Brian, Justice, and Mike's willingness to talk about it, but it's ROOFLE making the soil available for them for this kind of environment to grow, right? And so so if you're listening to this, you go like, oh, this kind of sounds interesting. The fact is, you've got to realize this is not just about the contribution of the employees or even the leaders. It's about what soil are you willing to provide for growth like this to happen? As a leadership group, I mean, I met Travis, and when I saw you a couple of weeks ago down in Orlando, and I was just thrilled at even, he's not as much a part of this. He has prepared it to be successful. And now Courtney, Brian, Mike, and Justice feel comfortable that it can add to their life and more value. And to me, I think when a company is willing to make this kind of investment in their people, it shows a company that I think is going to have wild success, because as these 4 become better, ROOFLE can't help but become the same.
So let me ask that one. I want to take that a little bit further, because Travis has not attended any of these yet.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit in his schedule. But I want to ask Courtney and Justice and Brian, has this process helped you with the relationship that you have with your supervisors, so whoever you report to? So have you seen this make a difference in how you interact, how you communicate to leadership within ROOFLE, based on what you're experiencing within T1C?
Absolutely. I won't get into the details, but absolutely, it has helped me realize that, hey, I can't hide. Sometimes it's better to get it out on the table.
Yeah.
And instead of hiding things away and just kind of repressing it, hey, let's have a conversation about it and deal with it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's changed the way that I'm willing to hear and respond to what I hear, and kind of how I filter the things that come my direction, and what I do with that. Kind of thinking of the head, heart, and hands concept from T1C, in that if it's going to start with my head, how am I filtering information that comes my way? And specifically that comes from my team and from my leadership, and what I can do with that information, and what I will do with that information. That's kind of been a big takeaway for me, is what information is coming, what am I receiving from leadership, and what can I do with that? As just as much as how much I can communicate back and how I can affect that.
That's really good.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I would say my biggest, I would say, positivity from that. And again, I come from a very structured background. So I'm coming into a place with zero structure, or their lack thereof, and not having the confidence to stand up or say something. And I can see that I've changed in my confidence in bringing issues up. I mean, it would be something where I'm going like, I'm going to let someone else look at that. I'm going to have someone else notice it. And instead I'm going, all right, we have a problem. I'm going to just go straight to the source of where it needs to go. And that is probably the biggest improvement that I've seen in myself.
And I have witnessed that, and it is awesome.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, I'm proud of you guys. I thought about a story and we'll conclude with this, Mikey. My wife we've been married 34 years, I think. It's like something around there. And she's one of the funniest people. Mike's met her. I mean, she's just really funny, but she doesn't try to be funny. And she tells me of a story when she was in her late teens and early 20s. She said, I would sit around and was kind of quiet and didn't say much. And she's like, somebody would say something that I'd thought about 5 minutes earlier, but just wasn't confident enough to say. And I knew I thought about it before they said it. I just didn't say it. And when I was listening to y'all talk, I thought to myself, there are times in all of our life where we've thought that there are things that we want to say that we haven't. And whether someone else has said it in lieu of what we've wanted to do but didn't, the importance is being in an environment where you're confident that you can say it'll be received properly. And to Justice's point, being willing to hear and developing this ability to think about what's being told you as opposed to an automatic reaction, and just kind of filtering through that is critically important. And so y'all are, honestly, this is why I think we do what we do. And I'm so thankful to have had the opportunity to talk to you guys today. Anything in closing, Mike or Courtney or Justice or Brian?
Yeah, I would say that as a result of our interactions with you, with your team, with T1C, with the discipline that we're creating in our own lives to continue to report those things on our daily pulse, Kevin, it has made ROOFLE a healthier company, and one that we can maintain for a longer period of time than we would if we, it's not an exaggeration. What Courtney was saying is sometimes when you have new companies and new startups and there's not a great amount of structure, there could be a lot of chaos. Well, we're bringing order to the chaos, and we're starting it, and we're laying this foundation very, very carefully and strategically, and we're not having to reinvent the wheel because we're employing the services of T1C, and it's making us better for it. It's better for our exterior, for what people see us as, and for our interior, what we see ourselves as and each other's. And so we've been fantastically empowered and blessed by the company and our time together, and we definitely appreciate our involvement.
So if anybody wants to reach out to us, our website is That One Company, and it's the number one .net, or I'm pretty easy to find on social media. You can reach out to me and be happy to talk to you about maybe how we can help. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I don't want to steal your thunder about how you want to close, so I'll turn it back over to y'all.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Reggie. We really do appreciate it so much. Thank you, Courtney, Mike, Brian. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, keeping all the wheels turning here at ROOFLE. Reggie, thank you for the representation. Everyone, thatonecompany.net. If there is anything you would like to dig into here with Reggie. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys.